Council meeting, May 18th, 2021, into session. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence, please. Thank you. Tom.
Alderwoman Calderon? Here. Alderman Brickner?
Clear this way.
Alderman Brickner? Here. Alderman Fire?
Here.
Alderman Damon?
Here.
Alderwoman Fliss? Here. Mayor Tutai?
Here.
And Alderman Wadawa asked to be excused.
Just so everyone knows, his father passed away today.
And the meeting has been properly posted and noticed.
Telephonic meeting? None. Public hearing? None. Presentation? None. Citizens' comments? None.
Who is that guy and what have they done with him?
He was thinking. The wheels were turning. Consent agenda. Is there any person that would want anything removed from the agenda?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the consent agendas as presented this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Recommendation of action from committees, commissions, and boards. Action to be taken from the licensing committee meeting held May 18th, 2021.
Mayor, we are looking for approval for beverage operators license for Mr. Driscoll, Mr. Johnson, Ms. Kinder, and Ms. Mackay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
That's all from licensing.
Thank you. Resolutions and ordinances? None. Discussion items with possible action. Authorization for staff to submit notice to Wisconsin Historical Society of intent to adopt the Wisconsin Municipal Record Schedule.
Can someone just explain that a little bit? I mean, I looked through all those pages.
Mark or Paul?
Sure. Yes, thank you. So this is as you all may know, the Wisconsin Public Records Law has specific requirements with respect to not only access to records, but also with regard to records retention. The default for withholding or for retention of municipal records is 7 years in most instances. There are certain things that we have to keep for life, such as ordinances and resolutions, but there is also the possibility to adopt an ordinance that shortens some of those schedules. Now, historically, the requirement from the state has been that in order to adopt such an ordinance, you need to send it to the Public Records Retention Board in Madison. They meet on a quarterly basis, and they will either say yay or nay to your specific ordinance. About 2 years ago, they changed their method of operation and said, we will still approve individual ordinances, but if you can live with our ready-made ordinance retention schedule, then you can essentially just send us a notice of your intent to adopt this schedule, and we will acknowledge that, and then thereafter you can just adopt your ordinance and do that. And so our ordinance is rather dated at this point, and so there are certain things that it doesn't contemplate or didn't contemplate at the time it was adopted. And so rather than going through the process of drafting an ordinance, provisionally adopting it, sending it, and waiting for the quarterly approval, this allows the city to instantly update its standards to the what is currently authorized by the Public Records Retention Board, and thereby lower some of our records retention requirements. And so the notice would initially go to the State Historical Society, because even when you do destroy records, you first need to give them notice, and they have to deny it or decline to accept the records before you destroy them. So this is the first step in the process. I think the packet included the a lot of the background information, but several pages in, there's also actually the schedules
Right.
that would go into an actual ordinance once it's adopted.
Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Are there any specific, because I looked through it too and I saw the schedule, but are there any like specific, like kind of what are the big ticket item changes between our current schedule and what the new schedule is, expected to be?
I think, Mark, you had talked about what some of the things that you were holding on to. that
Well,
are-
for instance,
emails
property
are one.
records we'll keep forever. So if somebody pulls a building permit or a plumbing permit, we keep that in Laserfiche, so we will have those types of records on individual properties forever. I think this deals with things that maybe are not so important, there's limitations on how long we would have to hold these things in our files, electronic files. For instance, like emails, I think it identifies emails, how long we would have to hold emails. And so those are some of the differences. I think in the past, we've always assumed that you have to hold emails 6 years. And I think this reduces that time on how long emails have to be held.
7 years.
So there are going to be things in here where we may hold the records longer, but will only be required to hold them for whatever the length of time is within the ordinance.
I'll move to authorize the staff to submit the notice.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Correspondence dated April 27th, 2021, from James Mathy. Mark or Paul? Paul?
This is a response letter that I had received from the county's Director of Housing Department in response to a letter that was originally sent to the Archdiocese, specifically respect to Clare Hall and its operations. As the council will recall, last March, it came to the city's attention that the county emergency management team, in cooperation with the Archdiocese, was planning on siting an emergency COVID shelter at Clare Hall. As things turn out, in the process of doing that, the Milwaukee Health Department, the county's housing department, and the emergency government from the county didn't realize that although it has a Milwaukee street address, Clare Hall is actually situated within the city of St. Francis. And so they had not thought to come to us to get permission. So at that time, because of the emergency situation and the need to provide shelter for at-risk individuals from COVID-19, the health department did issue a local health officer, that being Jackie Ovey, did issue an emergency order that approved the memorandum of understanding between the Archdiocese, the Milwaukee Health Department, and the National Guard with respect to the operation of the facility. It had several specific provisions in that document, and some of which resulted from a Saturday morning long Zoom call that the mayor, Mark and I, and Nick, and Melinda, and Jackie, and I'm trying to think if anyone else from the city participated. I'm sorry? Oh, Chief Hunter, sorry, he's not here, I forgot all about him, I looked over it. Saw Captain Blunt. So all of us from the city on that call and explaining the city's concerns. And so there were a number of things that we were, explaining that how it was going to operate, including the fact that the National Guard would be transporting individuals to and from facilities in Milwaukee to this facility and then back again, how security was primarily going to be dealt with by the Guard and the Milwaukee Sheriff's Office. During the last few months, and again, part of that was just with respect to the how it was going to be, affecting the city itself. Obviously, there was concern as far as the security protocols so that, you know, again, at that time, last March, there was probably a lot less known about COVID-19 and its transmission, and certainly the specter of individuals infected by COVID, you know, walking around at will in the city was of concern. And so they were, again, the security protocols were addressed at that time and within that agreement.
Bless you.
Yeah, bless you. Yes, during the course of the last few months, Chief Hunter, communicated to us the fact that there was, in fact, no primary response coming from the Sheriff's Department. We made inquiries of them and found out that all the group of individuals that, and agencies that were involved in there, no one had thought to contact the Sheriff's Office. And they informed us very politely, but very clearly, that they were not bound by this agreement. They did not have the personnel to abide by this agreement, and that, you know, if it turned out to be an emergency, they would show up as far as mutual aid, but otherwise, they really weren't involved in it. We also then found out that the National Guard was no longer part of the facility. And then there was some questions as to the status of the private security agency that was supposed to be contracted, that was going to be staffing the facility as well. This precipitated, then we also, there were also anecdotal contacts with the city that, as far as what the facility was being used for. You may have seen a news article that indicated that part of the facility was now being used for storage. This led to a letter to the Archdiocese expressing concern that from the zoning standpoint, that this facility was not zoned for this use, that it was operating under this emergency shelter provision solely by virtue of the local health officer's order, and that, you know, if that wasn't going to be complied with, that, you know, we expected that they were going to adhere to the zoning provisions, or if they were looking to do something else moving forward, that there would need to be an application for correct zoning to allow the use of the property. This led to a very polite letter from the rector indicating that we would essentially, bottom line, we'd be hearing from the county and the city as far as what their intentions were. And so the letter that you have in the packet tonight is that response from the county. Now, this triggered a Zoom call yesterday, which between the county, the city of Milwaukee, the county executive's officer, the mayor, Mark, and I participated. I don't think anyone, nope, there was on that line. But, and so there was extensive discussion as to that use. The county did indicate that they you know, essentially love Clare Hall, although the Archdiocese had originally planned on tearing it down when the need arose. The county looked at it and decided that this facility would meet their purposes. And they also indicated that since then, that they had, although the Archdiocese indicated they didn't have the money to fix up the facility Clare Hall to use, and were planning on destroying it as part of their, you know, moving forward plan, the county indicated that due to the availability of federal funds, they had gone in and replaced flooring. They remodeled the commercial kitchen so that it was now being able to serve food to the people in the facility, and
They've got administrative offices in there
Yes.
for.
And so there are.
They pull permits for any of this?
Well, that was my question. Mark asked if I had any questions. I said, I'm wondering if the building inspector was contacted for permits for any of this work.
No permits.
The response that was, oh, yes, we just had the elevators inspected yesterday, but as Gary informed us, the elevators are a state building permit. He has not been contacted for anything. And so, so we have, the way we've left it with them now is our understanding that emergency use is now coming to an end. There was a tacit understanding that their use under the emergency basis will terminate by Labor Day, and that if they are looking for anything else as far as use moving forward, that they would need to, during that time frame and before that use starts, make a formal application to the city for zoning for the property.
Which would have before occupancy. Should be before occupancy, before they could occupy the building.
And Mark did make that very clear during the discussion that was the expectation, that and our, you know, consistent requirement of applicants that, you know, your use, you know, start after you get the permission, not before.
Well, because it's apparent to me that all the parties that are involved here really don't care what we think.
Right. I mean, I read just this one sentence. We firmly believe the county and seminary, at least broadly speaking, operating Clare Hall in compliance with the spirit of the letter and the health order. This whole letter reads like, oh, you caught us, now we'll ask forgiveness. They didn't pull permits. They went in, first they moved in without even notifying us, but they want a partnership with us? There's no partnership here. They're acting unilaterally, and they think we're not gonna do anything about it. It's
Paul,
just not how you function.
In your estimation, reading the letter, like, let's just get first principles down first, because reading the letter and then based on what you know about what's going on there, are they acting within the current emergency use agreement?
I don't believe entirely. I think they have migrated past that. Some, again, the MOU was predicated on, well, one of the parties to the MOU was the National Guard, and they have since withdrawn. When we pointed it out, initially the response back was, well, we never expected them to be there long-term. Quite honestly, that's quite different than the understanding we had last March. You know, as a group, we believe that this was the National Guard there as a presence certainly makes a statement as far as the states and the State Department of Health's involvement, because that was originally what the county health department or the Milwaukee City Health Department indicated, that they were looking at this site because of the directive by the Department of Health Services that these types of sites be looked at around the state. And so that's how this came up in the first place and why the National Guard was involved. And so certainly from the standpoint of the emergency standpoint, the withdrawal of the Guard, to me speaks volumes. One of the things that we raised as far as a concern was the Journal Sentinel article in the reference to the commercial kitchen operation, because it seemed to indicate that there was some use beyond merely serving food. The statements that were made yesterday seem to walk that back and indicate that well, no, the kitchen is now operational so that they can serve the residents of the facility. Rather than having to bring in food. From the standpoint.
Operational, though, when the sisters left, that kitchen was operational.
Oh, that,
It was fully working when they moved into the new building. There was nothing wrong. I was back in that building for 6 months afterwards, moving things. It was fully operational. So
That-
why
that
they had to
wasn't-
even do anything,
they indicated that.
That's
you know,
not
that
us,
was
that's
one
the
of things.
county saying that.
yeah.
Yeah, so they, from the standpoint of the emergency status and the temporary aspect, again, it was intended, as our understanding, it was a short-term type of facility. They did indicate that there are some people with some health issues that have been allowed to stay on a longer basis. It wasn't quantified as far as how long that is, but again, it's not something that was specifically, contemplated within the MOU. And so if your question is, are they totally within it? I'd have to say no.
And so I guess from that perspective as well, like within the MOU, was there any indication of when they would like close up shop and how this agreement ends?
No, there was no finite termination date. Again, at the time that we were
We didn't know
doing
what we
this,
didn't know.
it was unknown, what the horizon was going to be for COVID-19, and I don't know that we still have a specific handle on when the pandemic is going to be deemed concluded, even though we're not wearing masks tonight for the first time in months. But in that regard, no, it wasn't. It did indicate that it would terminate on the basis of a future health order by the local health officer as far as the that order itself. And so it didn't contemplate that it was going to be permanent. And in fact, we did explain at the time that this was essentially, the local health order was an accommodation because, again, from the outset, we made it clear that the current zoning of the property doesn't accommodate that type of use of the facility.
Yeah, and I think
Well, it's nice that Milwaukee County put their offices right upstairs so that they don't have to travel far with that, dealing with their clientele.
They also indicated that moving forward, their hope is to, or they've been talking to the sheriff's department now, and if they move forward with plans, their anticipation of trying to, I believe the term was a cart facility. I'm not sure the exact implications of that, but they indicated that the sheriff's department would have a regular on-scene status and thereby avoid the need for future responses from the St. Francis Police Department. And also, we were told that this would be a benefit from the city because they would be available for mutual aid responses to the city on a more expedited basis. So,
We were specifically, we specifically asked and we got specific answers around that this wouldn't turn into a long-term or permanent fixture of the community. I know I assured many residents who called me at the time that we wouldn't have this as part of a long-term and permanent fixture within the community. So I think, we need to figure out how to get them back within the, kind of MOU agreement, or how to come up with a new MOU agreement, preferably one with a very specific end date, and then kind of, move from there.
Are we getting, now with those permits, are they coming back to the building inspector? Are we gonna get permits? Are they gonna pay for it? Are we gonna, don't we have a right to that? Can't we enforce that?
well, we have not reapproached them since the meeting.
Yesterday.
Mark and I talked about it today, and the between the two of us, we felt it was better to wait to talk to the council first before reapproaching the county as far as, here, look, here's an application type of thing, or here's what you need to do. Obviously, we don't want to go down the path of, giving them advice as far as how they can, make it any kind of permanent situation if that wasn't the council's intention. I did mention, though, Alderman Damon, to them specifically during the call that, certainly that we were mindful of the fact that the city had made representations to its populace at the time that this was temporary, that it was, to deal with the COVID emergency, rather than looking at any kind of long-term presence in the city by the county. The representative from the Archdiocese did indicate that they have been on a short-term lease that has been informally extended from time to time. From the comments, my impression was that they're working on a more elaborate extended version of that.
Thank you, Mayor. It was made very clear to them that, and because Jackie was part of the Zoom as well, and it was made very clear to them that the MOU will expire by Labor Day, and that they need to take action to phase this facility out by that time, or they need to submit an application for rezoning. We can't deny them the right to apply. So if they make the application and we go through the process, they're entitled to go through that process. But we made it very clear to them that they need to, if they're gonna come in with a rezoning request, that typically takes 90 days. And so the clock is ticking. If they don't get the application in and they can't get the rezoning, that the facility will close down by Labor Day.
If I may, a little history on this. Last year, I found out when Channel 12 called me, because the county and Milwaukee City did not have the courtesy to come to the elected officials or the city officials. I called Tom Barrett, the mayor. He told me that the address was 3470 South Illinois in Milwaukee and was in his city. I educated him that 99% of the seminary is in St. Francis. He agreed with that, and I thought the understanding was mutual. I'm very disappointed with Milwaukee County. They knew that Clare Hall is in the city of St. Francis, and yet they do not keep us in the loop for what they're doing. I want that on public record, that I'm very disappointed that they do not contact the city officials or city staff. I got citizens that are asking me weekly what's going on there, and most importantly, the citizens need to have answers. And if they don't keep us in the loop, how can the city staff or us as elected officials do our job?
100%.
So I'm going to say it again because it's very important. I want it on record. I'm extremely disappointed with Milwaukee County for not keeping us in the loop. They knew for over a year that Clare Hall is in the city of St. Francis. Chief?
It needs to be said. Alderwoman Fliss is absolutely correct. The kitchens and the normal operations infrastructure of that building was intact leading up to the onset of COVID. That's a true statement. However, there was a reason that the sisters, that the nuns, that the tenants of Clare Hall needed a new building. The hallways are very long. I can't, don't quote me, but several bedrooms to makeshift bathrooms or small bathrooms, long egress paths out of there. To be honest with you, the fire department was relieved when we found out that that building would be vacated due to the antiquated alarm system, the fact that our stretchers and longboards do not fit straight into the elevator to get certain injured patients out of that building. To date, and everyone's correct here, this was all trying to be flown under the radar. I overheard this on a background conversation on a Zoom meeting when COVID happened. That's how I found out about it. And that's why we had a Saturday morning Zoom meeting, because it was hitting the press and the media and the Journal Sentinel and the news stations before anyone in this room, any elected, any department head, knew what was going on. And the same thing's been going on there. And where I'm going with this is the fact that we have been in the building to take out COVID patients or sick people that we knew that would happen in the normal course of our business. What we have not been able to do is go in there, and due to wanting to keep our exposure low, not knowing what kind of patients or people are in there, the fire department has not been able to do a thorough fire safety inspection of that building. And I know that we have the jurisdiction, but we're not being fed any information as how many tenants, who's on what floors need to be isolated, what floors are infected, and so forth. So again, Alderwoman Fliss is correct that it was operational when the nuns moved out. And I don't mean to be frank with this, but there are reasons that they vacated that building, and the fire department was relieved when they did, because there were outdated facilities, antiquated alarm system, antiquated suppression system. Nonetheless, and also the access to the building is not the best to get any fire apparatus, much less ambulances in there. So there are concerns from the fire department, and that all should go on public record.
Thank you, Chief.
So when we go back one more time, and you just can't help but you can't overlook the fact that in multiple points in this letter, they talk about, even though they tell us this is a short term with an end in sight, in multiple places in this letter, they're asking to discuss future plans, long-term plans. Mm-hmm. This isn't, they have no intention of leaving there. It's been wrong from the start, and they're really not putting forward a genuine effort to work with us.
They went with a short-term homeless shelter with the emergency orders, and now they're trying to sub-navigate it with, we want a long-term transient. People will be there only for 3 or 6 months. Again, with City Administrator Mark Johnson, who said, come to us and talk with us. Apply for your occupancy permits and everything else that needs to be done. They have not done that. And again, I'm repeating myself, but I'm extremely disappointed with Milwaukee County.
But that building, like the chief said, that is why the sisters left. I mean, it's a dorm-type building. It was meant for the priests before. So, I mean, you had to use, even when they were going in, I was shocked because I thought COVID people using a one bathroom. That's what the sisters did. They went down the hall to use a bathroom, and it was probably, I think there were 12 on the floor. So I was shocked that they were even using it for COVID, because they all had to share the same bathroom.
I was just going to ask you, wasn't it just one bathroom per floor?
One bathroom. They had a sink in their room and then one bathroom, that's it. It was a dorm system. That's what it was. And that's why the sisters, it wasn't suitable for sisters that were 80s and 90s, and they
Agreed.
needed
Agreed.
So that didn't make sense even to me when COVID patients went in there. I thought, wow, everybody together? I mean, that, using the same bathroom? Everybody?
This whole thing just needs to be shined, the brightest light that we can find to shine on this because of the fact that Milwaukee County and the city of Milwaukee have decided that we don't matter.
So,
And we need to shine the light on the fact that we do matter, even if they're gonna, whatever they want to do, they still have to come to us and discuss it.
Absolutely.
Not just jam it down our throat.
Absolutely. Matt, did you have something?
yeah, what's the action? How do we move forward from here?
Paul?
Well, Mark and I did talk about a follow-up. The way we left the meeting yesterday was that there was going to be follow-up discussion between Jim Matthey and the city as far as any future, desired use of the property. Again, we explained that, and Mark and I did look at it yesterday, and the current zoning, R3 zoning, would not accommodate anything close to what they're desiring. So there would need to not only be a rezoning of the property, but it would need a special use on top of that in order to run a type of facility that they're looking for. Again, there's lots of, hoops that would have to be jumped through in order to do that. There need to be, obviously, again, the Planning Commission review, public hearing, and then subsequently action by the Common Council on that. At this point, we haven't seen anything from them in formal other than the discussion. Again, certainly we have the impression, the fact that they mentioned that they've spent an awful lot of federal money on improvements to the building. As I say, they named several improvements that were made, but again, I don't know that takes care of the other, concerns as far as the suitability of the building in the first place. From their perspective, they indicated that it was, they felt the building was ideal and suited for this task more than, I think they said, pretty much any other building that they'd seen. And of course, in the Archdiocese Public Relations representative indicated that, obviously, the partnership with the county was something that they were very happy to be part of. So from the, so it was, although the conversation yesterday was, yes, this is a cooperative effort, I have to agree with Council President Brickner. The cooperation is between Milwaukee County and the city of Milwaukee with a dearth of, recognition of the need to bring the city of St. Francis involved. And so we did at several points during the discussion attempt to bring them back into the fold, and as far as reality, as far as the jurisdictional aspects of the city, the need to comply with our zoning code. And quite honestly, I told them that the MOU or the local health order at this point has become little more than Swiss cheese. It's got so many holes in it that as far as how they're operating under it. So that it would not, stand up in any type of long-term basis, and specifically asked them, and they did state that yes, the Labor Day was the date that they would they could and can shut down from the standpoint of the emergency health facility.
Isn't he the one that we questioned last time? An issue came up and he denied everything, and the very next day went to the media with a news story contradicting what he told us? I don't trust him.
Well, Jim Matthey is the housing director for Milwaukee County. So he's got multi hats. This is just one of his hats. He works with workforce housing development and a lot of different things. But I guess the issue is I reached out to Jim because I hadn't heard anything from the county via email indicating what's the status of Clare Hall. And it took 2 weeks to get a response back. And then as soon as he provided me with a response, the next day, Chief Poplar sent me a link to the Biz Times, and it contradicted everything that he said in his email. And then they indicated that they were looking to use this as a long-term facility and that they were moving furniture in. And so that's, I think, when we queried them and said, hey, what's going on? And we sent the letter via Paul to the archdiocese, and they basically responded saying, well, you really need to contact Milwaukee County and the city of Milwaukee. We're just the owners of the property. We don't know what's going on. In essence, that's what the letter said.
Can you do that?
Yeah. And so then Jim Matthews sent the letter that you have tonight. And then we talked, Jackie had, she was out of the office because she had hip surgery. And now she's back in the office, so we reached out to Jackie and said, hey, Jackie, can you set up a Zoom meeting with them? Because they haven't been really responsive to city staff inquiries, and she said, sure, and that's how we had the Zoom meeting yesterday, and they were very cordial yesterday. Although I will say that about half the meeting they spent talking about the need in Milwaukee County for this type of facility, and I indicated to them, well, I think we've established that there's a need, but you're not following the proper protocol to establish a facility like this, especially in St. Francis. So I think what we're really looking at, and we asked them, we said, well, you know, when are you gonna be closing this facility down? And they couldn't give us a date. And they said, well, there's still COVID out there. We're still running into some cases in this population. And so we're still treating some of this population for COVID, therefore we still need the facility. I think that's when I mentioned to them that our goal is that this will be the health memorandum or MOU that we have. We're giving you fair warning in this meeting, and the county executive's office was there as well, that this will end by Labor Day. Whether you want it to end or not, it's gonna end by Labor Day. You've got this much time to figure out where you're gonna relocate this facility or make an application for a rezoning. Those are your only two options. Otherwise, this facility will close by our health order as of Labor Day.
Okay.
So right now, do we just place this on
Well, we'll
file, and then you're gonna keep working
Based on your
it?
comments, I've written down some of the items here. I will send an email to James Matthew again tomorrow. I'll CC you in on it, indicating some of your issues and what the city's feelings are on their use of the facility and how we're kind of not really part of the partnership. It's something that they see as an important aspect of using that facility, but we see it a little differently.
Well, and they're not even looking at it as to the point, I think you're jumping the gun when you're talking about what they're gonna do in the future. The fire department has told you that, they don't wanna, they don't wanna do it because of the fact that narrow hallways and long narrow hallways.
I will
and
place all that.
Fire suppression and all that kind of nonsense that they're trying to avoid, having done.
I agree. I was gonna
This
say
is
they
a
should be
no-brainer.
out completely before they're ever allowed to be back in, so that chief and his team can assess safety and we can make mandatory requirements for improvements if that was the road that would actually happen. But I think safety has to be paramount, not just for them, but for his team and Captain Blunt and Chief Hunter's team too.
I think it was too much money for the sisters even to work on with the archdiocese to remodel and, you know, to make it suitable for the type of, and now they're saying with disability people. I mean, to me, it doesn't make any sense to be in that facility. Just doesn't at all.
Mayor, if I
For
may.
people
And
with disabilities, it
I
makes,
put a lot of weight behind there because 20-plus years there you've worked.
yeah, I mean, it
I
just
put a
doesn't
lot
make
of
any
weight behind your expertise there.
Well, I mean, and the chief could tell you, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It's not, it was, you know, that's the reason they built, was to make it
If
suitable.
I may, and I think those, certainly they're all valid points. As part of the special use project, of course, part of the decision-making parameters are looking at to see the suitability of the site versus is there a different site that would be better suited. And so I think they're all valid points. Obviously, we don't want to, you know, prejudge any potential application. Certainly there's, and not that that's happened, but I'm saying from the standpoint It is something that would come along, if they do decide that they want to move ahead after receiving Mark's letter, that would be part of the process. And as Mark and I discussed, as I mentioned earlier, from the standpoint of the zoning, the closest we could come was a social services facility, but even that category refers to on a neighborhood level, and this isn't really a neighborhood level. This is really a county-wide or almost a regional type of facility, which again, right now is not contemplated within our zoning code. So there are some legal hurdles that they would have to convince the city as far as the how that's going to, and plus, as I explained to them yesterday, it also has to fit into our comprehensive plan. We can't do zoning that doesn't, by state law, we're restricted from rezoning properties in a fashion that's inconsistent with our own comprehensive plan. So all these things have to be looked at as part of the process, but we're definitely not there yet.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to receive, place on file, and then instruct city staff to continue working with the county in order to get the MOU, like in line with what our original agreement was, and to, kind of help them transition towards whatever the next step is for
A
them.
second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on. Appointments to committees, commissions, and boards. Mayor two-time for a celebration committee.
What are his bona fides there? Yeah.
What
No, this-
qualifies me there is, we got 5 weeks to do this, and I think we need the quorums, and in the past, we haven't had them because people were missing. So this is gonna be temporary. It's not gonna be forever. Probably before Christmas, I'll be off, but it's just, we're under the crunch. This is an emergency. We got 5 weeks to do it, and I wanna make sure that they have a quorum so we can get everything done.
I'll motion to accept Mayor Tutai to Celebrations Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Take it the letter of references will be forthcoming.
Absolutely. Along with the police reports,
Was this
along
probation?
with the background check.
Just so the minutes are correct, is this probationary appointment?
It's not long-term.
Correct.
That's what the county said. Oh, I'm sorry.
Because I'm looking for volunteers. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to be on the celebration committee, please stay seated.
And we meet and we meet at Clare Hall, right?
Offices of the county administrators. Moving on. Correspondence with possible action or referral. Correspondence dated May 12th, 2021, from the Wisconsin DNR Recycling Grant announcement. Melinda? Or Mark? Ann?
Bueller?
From the state, letting us know that we have been awarded $33,477.03 for our 21 grant.
Excellent. Motion to file.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Unfinished business? None. Other business? None. Department heads? Melinda?
None.
No, that's once it comes to the alder
No
people
kidding.
Thank you very much.
and mayor.
Mayor, I'm glad to be back. It's
Welcome
good to
back.
be back. I want to thank everybody for being so helpful while I was out. I'm still recovering. I get tired. I'm old, so I get tired. But it's nice to be back in the building with everybody and get caught up with everything. So a couple updates. Our water main trench repair, we had the pre-construction meeting today, so that will be starting next week. DC Burbach is the contractor, as you know, and so we'll be moving forward with that, the removals, and we expect it to take about 30 days or so between the removals and getting everything put back in. So, so we'll be moving on that next week. We are out. Hunter and I are out in the 2nd District along the paving project. streets this year, doing, just verifying some final information so that we can get the special assessments together and hold our public information meeting and public hearing in the middle of June. So that's moving forward. We will be see, I've been gone way too long. Publishing the notice to receive bids for our catch basin repair project starting next week. In the highway department, tree planting is moving forward, so we have been working on that. We're doing sewer cleaning. We love to mow grass, so we keep on that. We will be planting the flower beds with the volunteers from the beautification committee at the end of May, beginning of June. And if anybody knows of a college-bound student or a student that is in college and needs a job for the summer, we guarantee you 40 hours a week. We work you hard, but you'll have your weekends and evenings off. So send them my way. That would be awesome. And again, thank you for everybody's support. And then with that, I pass.
And welcome back, Chief Poplar.
Welcome back, Melinda. Just a couple of things. Our 2 fire candidates are finishing the Joint Fire Training Academy on Friday. So probably the most aggressive and comprehensive fire academy in the state of Wisconsin will have 2 additional grads. They'll be on the floor beginning as early as Sunday for working shifts. So that's good news. Completed our state 2% dues audit. So every year the city receives the 2% dues from essentially a portion of your homeowners or business insurance that covers fire protection. We had a really good audit. My first time through it, it went exceptionally well, so I'm happy about that. And you're going to see with the new people coming on, and we had a state moratorium pretty much all last year for fire inspections, just due to the fact that we'd be going into other occupancies or common areas in residential occupancies. They put a moratorium in on, but with the new people coming on and catching up and making sure that we do thorough inspections on all of our facilities, our mercantile, business, industrial, commercial, and any 3-family or greater, we're actually taking the companies out inspecting all throughout the month of June. So you're gonna see the ambulance and the fire engine out where it's getting good exposure for our new firefighters to learn their first due area, our city, and to do some fine-tooth comb inspections after about a month or about a year-long moratorium on the inspections. And the last thing I have is the cicadas are coming. We had
Every
some
18 years.
We had some Boston fire people here for the Honor Guard Clinic, and just through social and networking and stuff, they had let us know that they have like billions of them already on the East Coast. So they can be on the phone with each other outside, and you can hear it right over the phone. So apparently there's millions and millions of them awakening this year. So they're out there in Boston already. With that, I pass.
Let them stay there.
Captain Blunt?
Let them stay there.
Yeah, Captain Blunt sitting in for Chief Hunters out in Quantico, as you guys probably know. I must say I'm a little disappointed. I don't have much of an ego. I really don't, because I thought I'd draw a larger crowd from the citizens.
Well, we
knowing
normally
that I
only
would
have
be here
one,
tonight.
so since you're here
And
too.
it's the same 2 that I saw last time I was here, which was about a year and a half ago. So I don't know what that says about me.
You got groupies.
I thought I had groupies. I did. I thought I did, anyway. Anyways, no, I just want to point out, last week was National Police Week, May 9th through May 15th. A bunch of citizens brought in goods and treats and goodies for their officers. We always appreciate that. And along with that, Mayor, I don't know if you were there again, but this was the second year that they had the midnight bagpiper that did the Amazing
Friday night.
Grace outside the Civic Center. We're one of maybe 8 locations throughout southeastern Wisconsin. So I think that's pretty cool that they do it out here. I was not there, but
Goosebumps again.
yep,
Awesome.
yep.
Just tear in the eye. Awesome.
If you didn't miss it, I told Christy to put it on our Facebook page. I don't know if it's on there or not.
Yes, it is on there, and then I pushed it out to other areas.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Good to know. Along with that, our Honor Guard is looking to start fundraising to go to Washington, D.C. Normally, they have the National Police Week during last week out in Washington, D.C., but they pushed it back because of COVID. So our 4 Honor Guard members are looking, Sergeant Lux retiring. He's an original member of the team. So they came to the chief and I and came up with a game plan as far as, you know, cost and overtime and all that stuff. They come up with a plan to go out to DC. So with that, they're gonna, we're not quite as good as the fire department. We're trying to get there, but we're gonna go out and try to raise some monies for those guys and hopefully bring in some donations. So hopefully it'll cost the city and cost those guys nothing to attend. From what I'm told, it's like a lifetime, once in a lifetime experience for Honor Guard. It's a must do, and those guys earn it. They worked hard. They're the original 4 in our department, and so they really want to go, and so we're going to try to make it happen so those guys can go. That's going to be in October. I don't have the exact dates, but some T-shirts will be coming out, so look for those. So yeah, that's something we're pretty excited about that goes along with Police Week. Our Citizens Academy graduation is tomorrow, 6 o'clock, I believe, in here. So I'll look to see you guys there if you want to join. Our smallest class ever, only 5 citizens, but I think that's due to COVID. But either way, I think it's still, I don't care if it's one person, we're talking in front of 100, to me it's worth it. And I think it was a good group. So that's tomorrow, graduation, 6 o'clock. We're participating in the National Click It or Ticket campaign. That's from May 24th through June 6th. So look for officers out on the road looking for people not wearing their seatbelts. And along with that, we've also been approved as part of a larger task force with Cut A, South Milwaukee Creek. We were approved for a speed grant of $15,000. So that through the Bureau of Transportation Safety, and that is from June 1 to September 30th. So a lot of traffic enforcement from now until end of September. And that's all I have.
I have one quick question. How much do they need to raise for this trip?
We don't have the exact numbers. We're looking at letting them use a city vehicle, probably the new pickup truck, to travel there. I know Sergeant Luck was doing rough numbers, but we're talking with gas, lodging, those type of things. I'm just throwing a number out there. Probably $3,000 to $4,000 probably for the 4 of them.
Good to know.
Maybe
Thank you.
5. Depends on how much beer they can drink. I don't know.
Thank you.
But no, I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing, and just a little history on the Honor Guard and why I'm so passionate about it. And I know Debbie Fliss can attest to this. My father, who worked for St. Francis for 28 and a half years, passed away at a young age from cancer back in 2014. And we didn't have an Honor Guard. And that was something that my mom wanted. And I was a detective at the time. Chief Kavish was the chief. And we made do, just like the fire service. You'd be surprised how fellow officers come together. But we had a hodgepodge, for lack of a better word, of Honor Guard members supplemented with our guys without any equipment, any fancy uniforms, that stood guard at my dad's casket. And until my mom died, she talked about it all the time and how wonderful that was. That then sparked Chief Kavish at the time to push for an Honor Guard. And I know we were at Jerry's funeral, and I don't think, unless you're a recipient of that, what it means to the family and what it feels like to see people at your father's casket and holding doors for people. And so they know this, and I'm a big proponent, and I support these guys 100%. And I think it's a wonderful thing. We're a small agency, and I'm glad that we can provide that service to retirees when they pass. And so I think it's a great thing. And this is like the mecca of Honor Guard is Washington, D.C. And these guys want to go. They deserve it. And I know it always comes down to dollars and cents, but Chief Hunter and I said, don't worry about that. We'll make sure we can get you guys off. We'll get you a vehicle, but let's make it happen. And so that's what we're doing. So I hope everybody gets behind it. It'd be awesome. I'm actually looking to burn my own vacation time and meeting those guys out there because I'd like to see it myself. I've never been. And just to support those guys and just see St. Francis's patch representing out in our nation's capital would be pretty cool. So I'm very passionate about it, as you can tell. I hope you guys get behind it. We're not good at asking for money, but we're not. We're just, I'm going to be honest, we're not.
That's a sheriff's department, Ann.
Yeah. So with that, again,
Thank you,
you.
Captain.
If I may piggyback on that, I did see you guys in action for Dwayne Mazur's funeral. Totally professional, totally awesome. One of the best ones I've seen. Yeah, both are outstanding. They're a notch above the rest. And I come from the 128th Air National Guard, and I've seen a lot of Guard units do this. You guys are on par or above them. So that's kudos to you guys. Ann?
Piggybacking onto the police department, I was informed today that the doghouse will be completed.
Wow.
Nice.
It is going to be dedicated, they're looking at June 4th at 4:30 in the afternoon. It's a Friday. They're hoping that the kids are all really excited to do that and see both dogs.
Yeah, I apologize, should have brought that, I slipped my mind.
No worries.
Thanks, Ann.
So-
You're welcome. You're welcome.
K-9 Bane and K-9 Riggs both will be there?
That's up to the department, but the house is for both of them and
They'll
to
both be
start
there.
Okay.
dedicating, and so we have something here to remind that. The big news is tomorrow is my work anniversary. I will be with the city for 29 years.
Oh,
But you're
my
only
gosh,
28
poor
years
you.
old.
I remember
didn't
the
have
day
gray
you
hair
came.
when I
And I
started.
remember the day you came, so how old am I, right?
And only 12 more years to go.
No. So I'm excited about that because over the past, 29 years, I've seen the city grow and change, and we're going in such a great direction. And the honor and privilege that I have to serve with a great council that works together for the betterment of the city and wonderful department heads has made my tenure here great. So I'm not leaving anytime soon yet, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And then, lastly, I attended our International Institute of Municipal Clerks Conference last week in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It was amazing to actually get out and see my peers that we've not been together for 2 years. And I also had the honor and privilege to present twice at the conference. So I was really excited. So other than that, I get to pass now.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to pass, but first I wanted to welcome back Melinda. Second, I wanted to volunteer Ann for the spaghetti dinner for the fundraising, since she, pointed out your limitations as far as fundraising. I'm sure she'd love to do that and sing this national anthem at the National Assembly. Second, I would also congratulate the Honor Guard on their work. I have seen them. And obviously, they are very professional in what they do. And I think, obviously, as you're all aware, both the fire department and the police department are a credit to the city. I will, since you've heard way too much from me this evening, I'll reserve the rest of my comments for the closed session. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
I'll reserve my comments for closed session. Thanks.
Thank you. Debbie?
I just want to thank Captain Blunt that was excellent in your speech, and I agree with you. It is an honor for the family. It is totally special. And also, I just want to say, it is so nice to see everybody's face tonight, and smiles and everything. And it's been a long time, so. And with that, I pass.
But some people still need to keep 6 feet away.
12 for Don.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Sean, you got 30 seconds.
No, I'm going to save my comments for closed session this evening, Mayor.
Don, I'll give you his 30 seconds.
My only question is for Mark. Do we have any updates on what's going on with the St. Francis Auto Wreckers property?
I did get a call from Patrick Connerton yesterday, and he indicated that they had 5 vehicles left to move off from the site. Otherwise, all the vehicles had been removed from 4005 South Pennsylvania. And I said, well, we'll send over the building inspector on Thursday then to review the site prior to the planning commission meeting next Wednesday. But he indicated that they had planned on having all the vehicles off that property by Thursday, May 20th.
And what about the ice shanty? Is that done?
The ice shanty, that's part of the application. Well, it's not really an ice shanty, it's a salt shed, but.
Whatever.
But,
Built the same way.
that's part of their application for the use of the property. So if they get the proper zoning from the planning commission and the common council, then they would submit a building permit application and Gary would review that.
So until that point, it just stays up?
Yes, yeah, until
at-
they know what the zoning,
So the
until,
tar paper shack is allowed to remain standing, an eyesore behind an eyesore of a fence?
well, that's part, I think, of what's gonna be discussed at the planning commission. That the fence has to be moved back, that they have to cut the volunteer trees, that it has to be repainted, that they have to kind of bring the property into maintenance compliance. So I think all those things are gonna be incorporated into their special use.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Don. Matt?
Yeah, I just also want to mention that the Honor Guard, I've seen them in action, and it's pretty amazing to watch, and I'd love to get those guys out there. They definitely deserve to be there, and love to figure out a way to make that happen. And welcome back, Melinda, and that's all I have.
Thank you. And in no particular order, welcome back, Melinda. And the Honor Guard, as I stated earlier, I got a lot of experience watching not only our states for the military, but active duty and everything else. My hat's off. You guys on both sides of the house are amazing. And Ann, 29 years, but you're only 28 years old. How can that happen?
Child labor laws.
Congratulations. And with that, we'll be convening to closed session after the roll call from the city clerk.
I'll need a motion to.
Motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, but
She
hang on,
actually has to
because
read
he's
it.
gonna tell me I still have to read it.
Yes. Sorry.
I'm to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19851E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Items for discussion: acquisition of real property within TID number 4 and/or TID number 5, potential development proposal TID number 5, and Bear St. Francis LLC TID agreement. Okay. Brickner, Alderman Damon,
Aye.
Alderman Fire,
Aye.
Alderman Calderon,
Aye.
Alderwoman Fliss.
Aye.
Alderman Brickner.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We'll be meeting in.
Yes, we're going to take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll be meeting next door, the West Room.
Do we just have to move on your motion that you wrote down, Ann?
The motion that we would need would to authorize the execution of the agreement for TID 5 as discussed in closed session.
I will make
So
that
moved.
motion.
Wow,
That's right, that Ann's got it.
of us did.
That Ann's got it.
got the hairy eyeball. I think it's
Yes,
Alderman
I
Brickner.
think you put by proclamation at that
I'll
point.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody.